I'm Austin Ilsley.
And I'm Lacey Ilsley. We're the owners of AI Painting Plus in Columbia, Missouri.
We do residential repaints, interior, exterior. We also do light commercial, interior, exterior. You can't use the same primer every time for every job because each different primer is going to have a different function. Each different primer is going to solve a problem before it happens with your top coat, depending on what your top coat is, depending on what the substrate is. And to be perfectly honest, there is really no universal primer, and people ask me this all the time, like, what's your go-to primer? What do you like to use for primer? And the answer is, well, I don't have one. I have a go-to primer for my specific situations that I run into frequently because each primer does something different in each one of those situations. The drywall primer is that you really want to know what you're trying to get the primer to do in this case. In this case, it's not about adhesion, especially on new drywall. It's not about stain blocking. What you're looking at is the absorption of the surface to get a uniform finish. When you use a drywall primer, you're looking for build. You're looking for the paper of the drywall to absorb this coating, the primer, and you're looking for the joint compound, the joints, also to absorb. These are going to absorb at different rates. So if you spray one coat of primer and you look down the wall, you can obviously see, every joint, seam, and your paper's going to be all fuzzy. So it's important to prime, sand, prime, and certain primers can do this in fewer steps than others, but in the drywall world, they call it a level 5 finish. It's not a true level 5 finish because that requires skim coating the entire wall with mud, but what you can do is get as close to it as possible with a high build drywall primer to equalize the absorption rate of the drywall paper and the joint compound, where when you look down the wall, you see a uniform, even surface with no seams or joints, basically. For example, Zinsser's drywall primer would be a perfect solution for that. It's going to build up heavy enough to where the joint compound and the paper absorb evenly, where you get that even coverage, even sheen all the way across down the wall. Odors are a big reason why primer is going to be used in the first place. So like a shellac primer, like a bin, or one of the odorless oil-based primer, those are going to trap odors into the substrate and not allow them to bleed back through. Like pet stains on floors, we've been in places where there's a lot of pet stains on the carpet that rip the carpet out, it seep through the subfloor. We have to seal those in with a coat of oil-based primer. Or I mentioned working with one of the local disaster restoration companies here in Columbia. Smoke damage, sealing the odor in to the substrate between the primer and whatever the substrate is really important, and for that you can use the oil-based primer or the shellac primer also. They both do a really great job of blocking odors. So bin is actually really cool because it is a shellac-based product. The solvent in bin is the denatured alcohol that evaporates really fast, and that's why it's actually really good at stain blocking and odor blocking, is because once you put it on, the reason why things seep through a coating a lot of the times are because the coating takes so long to dry, and it allows those, whether it's tannins or stains or whatever it may be, to bleed back through. It's because the coating's not drying fast enough to trap them into the substrate. So bin's really cool because you can apply it on and it dries so quick that it almost forms a shell over the substrate to where nothing can bleed back through. So when you're working with new unfinished wood, what you have to consider is that all types of woods have these naturally occurring acids in them that are called tannins. The tannins come to the surface when the wood gets wet. So moisture penetrates the wood and pushes those tannins to the surface, and they bleed through your top coats, and they're incredibly difficult to clean off. So when you're dealing with new woods, that's where a good oil-based primer will actually seal those tannins in to where they can't be pushed to the surface anymore. Zinsser Cover Stain is actually one of our favorite primers to use for exterior applications specifically. It does a really great job of sealing in the tannins, locking in any mold, mildew kind of stains, or just so deep. Cover Stain is high in alkyd resins, and that's what really helps prevent the stains from leaching through.